Good Tuesday, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for November the 22nd. Today we are reading together in Proverbs chapter 6. Proverbs chapter 6 is our reading for today. This is a chapter of warnings. There are warnings concerning financial means, laziness, the people that you interact with. We have things, the famous six and then seven things that the Lord hates. And then finally, the chapter concludes with a warning against adultery. Now, that has been something that we've seen a number of times already. It's going to be something we see in the next chapter as well. Obviously, this is something very important for every person to recognize. It is an important issue. It's something we must guard against. And therefore, this is why we have that particular issue addressed on a number of occasions as we read throughout the Proverbs, especially considering this is fatherly advice. The way it's framed is fatherly advice. We would certainly expect for a loving father to warn his son against such things that could bring such disastrous consequences, things that we'll see here as we get toward the end of the chapter. With all that said, let me go ahead and get Proverbs 6 up on the screen for us. Proverbs 6, beginning in verse number 1. Again, the first warning is against financial entanglements. We might describe this as being a co-signer on various types of loans or financial deals, something of that nature. So reading here in Proverbs chapter 6 and verse number 1. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor or entered into an agreement with a stranger, you have been snared by the words of your mouth, trapped by the words from your mouth. Do this then, my son, and free yourself, for you have put yourself in your neighbor's power. Go, humble yourself and plead with your neighbor. Don't give sleep to your eyes or slumber to your eyelids. Escape like a gazelle from a hunter, like a bird from a hunter's trap. Go to the ant, you slacker, or you lazy person. Observe its ways and become wise. Without a leader, administrator, or ruler, it prepares its provisions in summer. It gathers its food during the harvest. How long will you stay in bed, you slacker? When will you get up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the arms to rest, and your poverty will come like a robber, your need like a bandit. Verse number 12, a worthless or a troublemaker, a worthless person, a wicked man, a troublemaker, goes around speaking dishonestly, winking his eyes, signaling with his feet, and gesturing with his fingers. He always plots evil with perversity in his heart. He stirs up trouble. Therefore, calamity will strike him suddenly. He will be shattered instantly beyond recovery. The Lord hates 6 things. In fact, 7 are detestable to him. Arrogant eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that plots wicked schemes, feet eager to run to evil, a lying witness who gives false testimony, and one who stirs up trouble among brothers. Verse number 20, beginning the warning against adultery. My son, keep your father's command, and don't reject your mother's teaching. Always bind them to your heart. Tie them around your neck. When you walk here and there, when you walk here and there, they will guide you. When you lie down, they will watch over you. When you wake up, they will talk to you. For a command is a lamp, teaching is a light, and corrective discipline is the way to life. They will protect you from an evil woman, from the flattering tongue of a wayward woman. Don't lust in your heart for her beauty, or let her captivate you with her eyelashes. For a prostitute's fee is only a loaf of bread, but the wife of another man goes after a precious life. Can a man embrace fire and his clothes not be burned? Can a man walk on burning coals without scorching his feet? So it is with the one who sleeps with another man's wife. No one who touches her will go unpunished. People don't despise the thief if he steals to satisfy himself when he is hungry. Still, if caught, he must pay back 7 times as much. He must give up all the wealth in his house. The one who commits adultery lacks sense. Whoever does so destroys himself. He will get a beating and dishonor, and his disgrace will never be removed. For jealousy enrages a husband, and he will show no mercy when he takes revenge. He will not be appeased by anything, or be persuaded by lavish bribes. And that concludes Proverbs chapter 6. Going back up to the first section, again, just a quick little recap of what we see here in Proverbs chapter 6. In this chapter warning, the first thing is to make sure that you don't get involved in financial tie-ups, I guess. Again, the idea that I have here is being a co-signer for someone, a neighbor or a stranger. The warning is don't allow yourself to be under the power of others financially, because people take advantage of you. Be smart about that. Solomon says, he even says, go so far as to try to persuade your neighbor to release you from this arrangement. He says, just don't get in it to begin with. Now, again, we need to remember this is general wisdom, and that is to be applied, because I mean, my parents co-signed for me on a loan. I don't remember what it was. I think it was maybe a vehicle I bought, something like that. And I think there's a difference between co-signing with a neighbor and with a child, especially a child that you still have some control over. So again, it's taking this wisdom and applying it to the given situations we might find ourselves in. Second one is laziness. Don't be a lazy person, because if you do, then poverty will overtake you. You'll not be able to provide for yourself. You're just going to be a bum, and nobody wants to be a bum. There's the troublemaker in verses 12 through 15. There's these individuals that you might become engaged with, that you might have some sort of relationship with. If you recognize that person is just out to cause trouble, then don't be around that person. Distance yourself from that person. Don't let that person have any sort of impact upon you and your life. Just, again, as far away from them as possible is what you need to be. Again, the famous verses 16, 17, 18, 19 here in Proverbs 6, these 6 things the Lord hates. 7, being detestable to him, arrogant eyes, lying tongue, shedding innocent blood, heart that plots wicked schemes, feet eager to run to evil, lying witness who gives false testimony, those who stir up trouble among brothers. These are obviously things that we need to consider in our lives as Christians, that even just think about our life in Christ, these are certainly things that we need to detest. We ought to hate these things. These things ought to be detestable in our own eyes. We should not have arrogant eyes, and we should distance ourselves again from those who do those things as well. Lying tongue, all this. Again, we don't need to be those things ourselves, and we also don't need to allow those who practice these things to have influence over us and to cause us trouble. Again, distance ourselves from these things, both personally and from those others who might engage in them. And then finally, whenever it comes to adultery, one thing that I noted in my study Bible gives a footnote in verse 24: they will protect you from an evil woman, from a flattering tongue of a wayward woman. This is the Septuagint, which is a Greek translation of the Old Testament. So they translated the Old Testament from Hebrew to Greek. The Greek translation refers to this as a married woman. So if you know a married woman who has flattering tongue, who is trying to persuade you or seduce you, Solomon says, get away from it. Get away from it. Don't become involved in this. There's the imagery that's given here. Can a person embrace fire and not get burned, walk on coals and not scorch his feet? Of course, those things are not true. If you get close to fire, you're going to get burned. If you walk on coals, you will get burned. So it's not really an if. It's not really a question. It's an absolute. Yes, these things will happen. Therefore, if you sleep with another man's wife, you will get burned. You will get scorched. Don't do that. Verse 32 stands out to me a lot. The one who commits adultery lacks sense. The one who commits adultery lacks sense. It's not smart person. It is someone who has not feared the Lord and began a journey of wisdom. It is someone who does not care for consequences. It is excuse me. It is someone who just does whatever they want to, not considering the consequences of what might happen. That person destroys himself. There's going to be a beating. There's going to be dishonor. There's going to be disgrace. Verse 34, I almost get a chuckle out of, for jealousy enrages a husband. He will show no mercy when he takes revenge. Yeah, any husband that would not become enraged if he finds out that his wife has committed adultery and cheated on him, being unfaithful. Yeah, I'd say if you're not upset, If you're not at least having the feelings of wanting to get revenge, then maybe you don't view your wife the way you want to. You don't view her as the cistern that only you get to drink from. I'm definitely not saying that we go and get violent with people. Please, not saying that at all. But just the immediate natural feelings of that, I think certainly are understandable. He will not be appeased by anything or be persuaded by lavish bribes, because there's no value. There's no value that can be put on a wife. There's no value that can be put on that relationship. Once that relationship is betrayed, there's not money that can fix it. It leaves one broken and just absolutely devastated. So here the warning is from Solomon to his son: just don't do it. Don't do it. Recognize the danger, recognize the trouble, recognize the consequences, and stay away from that woman, that evil woman or that married woman who has flattering or smooth words. Stay away from her. Don't get involved at all. Certainly, these are all, I think, issues in our lives and areas of our lives that we would do well to consider, whether it be in our finances, whether it be in our work ethic, whether it be the people we surround ourselves with, or the issue of adultery, taking something that is not ours. These are all things for us to consider and for us to listen to. Again, we need to humble ourselves to listen to the teaching. We need to desire this teaching, and then we need to put forth great effort to apply this teaching in our lives. And if we do so, then we can have confidence that our lives will be better than the person who does not do so. Again, many of these truths are general in nature. They're general truths, but the applications certainly are. Excuse me, the applications certainly are widespread. So may God help us to be people who take these warnings, recognize the wisdom that is found within them, and follow them in the way that we live our lives. Appreciate so much you tuning in for this reading today. Appreciate your patience with me as I've been coughing a bunch, not feeling too great, but we're going to power through. We've got tomorrow's reading, and then on Thursday, I just remember this morning, on Thursday we have a catch-up day. So if you have got a little bit behind on the readings, maybe while you are cleaning a turkey or peeling some potatoes or cleaning the house, maybe you can listen and catch up to those readings that you're maybe behind on, and that's for you on Thursday. So no reading on Thursday, no live recorded reading, but it's a catch-up day. We'll be back at it again on Friday, though. So thanks again for tuning in to this reading. We'll be back at it again tomorrow